want to admit that you have a dream. Because some of y'all won't even admit that you have a dream. You won't even admit it. You won't even let it come out your mouth because you're so afraid of failure that you won't even admit that you want more. You won't even admit that you're dissatisfied with how things are going. What's up? What's up? What's up, Howard? Welcome everyone to the live. Welcome to the live. Today's going to be amazing. Yesterday morning was on point. Today's going to be super amazing. And this is the part 2 of He Has More. There's more out there for you, right? Things are not as bleak as they say they are. They're only as bleak as the people who believe in and buy into that. You know, think about it like this, right? There's so much inflation, everything's so hard. Do you know that grocery stores made 22% more money in profit? In profit, they profited 22% more last year than the previous years. So inflation, the economy is so bad, but all these big companies are making more money than what they ever had before. So I'm not saying this to dog them out, but you have to be on the other end and saying, you know what? If they're making more money than what they ever had before, guess what I'm going to do too? What's up, Mrs. Goddess? Guess what I'm going to do too, friend? You got to look at yourself and say, hey, we're making more money than what we ever made before too. Meaning the money's out there. The opportunity's out there. They just want you to believe that it's not, so you don't go for it. And it's just like anything else. If I wanted to fight you, right? What's up, Winnie? What's up, Lanil? If I want to fight any of y'all, the best way for me to win the fight is to intimidate you into not fighting at all. Meaning, I wanted to intimidate you so bad to the point to where you never show up to fight. So I'm a fee, fi, fo, fum, tell you about all the last people that I defeated. I'm going to talk so much trash. I'm going to intimidate you and get in your head so much that you just give me what I want. What's up? Thank you for liking. Y'all continue to like up the live. Let's get the likes up to the thousands, right? Thank you so much, Keith, for doing that. Y'all, I'm cleaning my headphones. But getting it to the point to where you never show up for the fight. If you don't have to show up for the fight, I get off easy because I get whatever it is that I want, meaning the gifts, the opportunities, the influence, the position that you left behind because you refused to fight. So I get what I want. And I've also gotten in your head because once you walk away from the fight, you're gonna keep walking away from it. Because now you feel like a coward. Now you feel like a coward. And so one of the things that Babylon will do, right? Because that's why I like working for God. Because once you start working for God, you stop working for Babylon. You stop being a slave. You start working for a whole different kingdom, a whole different system. But one of the things that Babylon wants you to do is to intimidate you so you don't participate. Some of you have been intimidated so much that you won't even participate. You won't even try. They've gotten in your head and you're like, it's too hard. It's too expensive. I'm just going to stay at this job I hate. I'm going to stay in this relationship that I hate. I'm going to stay in this industry that's dying and I'm just going to wait for it to die with me. I won't go and take the free classes that they have. I won't apply for the grant. I won't do any of that because things are just too hard. It's too risky. It's so this. And that's how they keep you from even participating. Isn't that scary? You won't even participate because they've gotten in your head. You won't even show up to the fight. So that's why today's message is He has more for you. And so the reason that this came up and the reason this event came up is because I'm like, okay, I started branching out and started getting new clients. And so I still have some old clients from what I was doing before, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to start branching out, start marketing, start doing all these different things. And what I find is that there's so many people that have great ideas. They have great gifts. They have great businesses, right? But thank you so much for following Angela, Angel Eyes. They have great ideas, great businesses. Told y'all my allergies have been crazy. But they won't start the process. They will not start the process. Why? Because there's different things that they have caught up in their spirit, caught up in their soul, that's making them hesitate. Because you were rejected before. You know, somebody calls you ugly at age 8 over and over and over again. You won't get on live to market yourself because you still think you're ugly. What's up? Not your name, Viral 86, my friend. How many kids do you have? Because you were rejected. Someone told you weren't enough. You know, somebody told you ability to learn in a different way, very, very, just wasn't in alignment to how they felt like teaching at the time. So he said, God doesn't have for me because I have a learning disability. And now, when you say it out loud, it sounds. When you say it out loud, but to ourselves, that absolutely no believing for years. And so what I realized, like, look, I need to have something that convinces people, one, that there is more for them out there, no matter what it is. And so God has more for what you did yesterday. Been failing. Business, the average, at least, that's great. I've been someone who's operated a failing business. And I can't imagine my life would be like if I was afraid to start another. Right? I would be so, because or less, because something in me says, oh, well, based on what happened, I don't deserve more. Have you been on Section 8 for the past 20 years? God has more for you. He wants the Babylon system. Babylon system always makes sure that you're only one step away from starvation. One, they're not going to let you starve to death because they need your work, right? But they never let you get far enough to meet them. So they always want you to be on a ball and chain to where you don't have options. Babylon system will teach you to consume more than what you're bringing in. The system will always make you eat, meaning the money, the resources, so that way the next thing comes when you're supposed to be Babylon to say, okay, I'll give you the money if go ahead and give me your first child, right? And then it may not necessarily be your first child. Now you got to go take out this loan or do this and do that, and that was supposed to be your child's first year college tuition. Or what you were supposed, maybe you decided you were going to homeschool. Now you can't homeschool anymore. You got to go do this. So Babylon will always find a way. So much for liking the live. Y'all go ahead and like the live, share it with 5 people. They always want to keep you just one step away from starvation, and then getting your head and intimidate you into thinking that you can't win. And you buy into it because they get in here to where you don't even try. You believe them. But if it were impossible for win, what would be the point of intimidating you? If it were then possible for you to win, it's important for them to run the same news headlines over and over and over again. Negative statistics, right? To make you, why would it be so important to tell you you're a minority over and over and over again? Why would it be so important to whatever group you belong to? Why would that be so important to them if there were zero to win? You lose and kill yourself. So this is what has more is all about understanding that there's always more for you. And so when I'm in my group and like we're together, whatever. And so one of the things I love to do is meet with them weekly because a lot can change in a week. You know, it only takes a moment for a bad seed to be dropped into your spirit can make you suddenly feel depressed. Have you ever had one person say one thing to you that knocks your confidence down so much to where the next thing you know, you're not doing anything? It's just that one bad seed. That's why really be discerning about who you allow to your life, what you consume, what voices do you follow. Art thou like the black man that hunts in the forest? I don't know what that is. You're going to have to explain that to me. I don't know that for a second. So, you know, you have to make sure that you're really doing those, my friend. It's a lot. It'll do a lot of things to you. And so when I'm talking to, you know, the people, my executives, business owners like that, what they don't realize is the first really month that I'm working with them, a lot of my job is putting out a lot of these seeds that have been dropped in the spirit. Seeds of rejection, seeds of insecurity, self-doubt. You know, maybe they didn't realize it, but somewhere along the way, you know, they started believing that nothing ever will get better and that they just have to settle for this average performing business, right? Like, you know what? And they start, and this is how you know you've settled. You start saying like, people just don't want to pay for stuff anymore. People don't care about high quality work. You know, don't want to be helped anymore. You start using all of these blanket statements about people, but really you're just explaining the experience you're having based on the state of your business or your enterprise. Because if it were really that true and you were in something that's outdated, why haven't you left? So if you come to me and say, hey, people don't want to pay for a VHS video anymore, or they don't want to pay for a DVD anymore, I'm like, well, duh, because we're all streaming now. So unless it's something to where, you know, just modern times have come and that industry has been replaced with something more efficient and more attainable and that people find more value in, okay, that's cool, right? So then that shows me, okay, well, then that means that we need to do some work to modernize your business and we need to do some work to update some things. But if there's people right next to you doing the same thing that are getting results, that are making the money, the next thing you have to do is start asking the questions of why. And part of that, the seed of that, when you start making those types of excuses and you start making those blanket statements, the seed of that is you don't really believe that God has more for you. And because you don't believe that he has more for you, you settle for what you're being demonstrated. So it's like the moment I'm like, okay, God told me I'm the lender and not the borrower. And then I say, okay, well, I believe God because if God be true, let every man be a liar. Then it would behoove me to say, well, why am I borrowing so much? If I'm the lender and not the borrower, why am I borrowing so much? So it's not that you're a liar. It's just that there's in some form or fashion, I'm not participating in the right system. Oh, okay, because I'm the lender, not the borrower in the kingdom, but in Babylon, I'm always going to be the borrower. Okay, so let me move out of that. Let me move out of the mindset of Babylon. Let me move out of that. Right? The number one way of seeing that is Babylon is really focused. It makes you focus on the appearance of something. Right? Kingdom systems make you focus on what something really is, the heart of a thing. Babylon says you are rich as long as you look rich. As long as you have the right car, you have this big house, you got this, you got that. You're rich as long as you look like you have everything. Until we take it away. Right? Kingdom mindset is I actually have. And it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside and how things look on the outside. What he's concerned with is the heart of a thing and the reality of a thing. So although I may look plain, although I may not have every bag, I may not have every trinket, I may not have every car, I may not have all these things, if someone were to peel back the layers, I've got the real thing. But that changed. Thank you so much for following, Marcellus, Mr. Ego. God bless you. But if someone were to peel back the layers, they would see, oh, hold on. Marcellus got, 500,000 in the bank, ready, plus assets. Now them shoes is dusty, right? But it don't matter, because if he wanted to, he can go to the bank, pull out 50 grand, and dust his shoes off with 50 grand and put it right back in the bank. That is the difference between the Babylon mindset and the kingdom mindset. Right. But remember, Marcellus, it don't matter if your shoes are dusty, because you're going to pull that money out. You're going to have on some bands. You're going to take the bands. Now, y'all going to see these slippers I got on. And you're going to dust them bands, those shoes off, right? With the bands, and go put your money right back in the bank. Because Babylon is focused on the appearance of a thing. Versus kingdom mindset, when God says he has more for you, part of that mindset is realizing that he wants you to actually have more happiness. He don't want you to just look happy. He wants you to be happy, right? He don't want you to just go out there and try to look rich so you can impress other people. He's like, no, I need your storehouse. You to have at least two years worth in your storehouse, right? I don't want you to just have this big house and you ain't got nothing stored in it. You ain't got no furniture, no artwork, no nothing, right? So you have to make that, what's up, Barbie? You have to make that mental mindset switch of there is more. God does have more for me, right? There's more for me in what he has for me than what I'm just settling for. He has more for my business. And so once you say, hey, there's more that can happen in this business, then you start saying, well, why isn't it happening? But the big problem is what I'm finding is, as I'm helping some of you all, you're setting up coaching calls. I love it. I love you. All those things, right? You're setting up your phone calls. If you want to work with me, click the link in my bio, set up a discovery session. And as I'm getting in these sessions, I'm realizing, oh, we can't get to the actual thing because this thing is in between what it is that you're trying to build. So you think the problem is your idea. You think you're not organized enough. You think you're all this. But really, what I'm seeing is that it's your self-confidence. Or you're doing this from a space of rejection. Meaning you're building not because you truly want to build, but you're proving a point because someone rejected you, right? Someone rejected you. And so now you're doing it to boost your ego. That's not a tool. Does not bring everyone's ego into the storehouse, right? Ego is not a gift. Therefore, it can't be used. That's a wound. And so it's very difficult to build when you're operating from a space of wounds. What do you do? What type of coaching? I do executive coaching. And I mean for executives, business owners, leaders, and those who are in the dream phase of doing that as well. Meaning people who are looking to go from here to there, right? So, and just to give you guys an idea, the difference between counseling is people in counseling try to reconcile your past, right? People in coaching try to get you to your future. But what I'm finding is that as I'm trying to coach people into their future, I'm recognizing that there's a lot of these different wounds that they have and things that have happened in their soul that are keeping them from moving ahead. And your soul is just your mind, your will and emotions, right? Or you may see in the Bible where it says guard your heart, right? That's another word for your soul, your mind, will, and emotions. Guard your heart above all things because everything flows from it. So if you have things in your heart, your mind and will and emotions that are broken, right? And you don't fix that and you don't address it, you don't get it healed, you never get delivered, then everything that you're doing is actually going through that filter. Doesn't matter how many affirmations you have, doesn't have any of this, doesn't matter, because it's always going to come back to that thing until you address what that thing is. And oftentimes, because you may have been operating from that space for so long, you don't even realize that that space is broken because you've been wearing that lens forever. It's like having that same pair of glasses on forever. If you always wore like sunglasses, and let's say they're tinted red and you never took them off, eventually the world will always look red to you. Thank you so much for liking the live. Eventually the world will always start looking red to you because you never took that lens off. And some of you may have been wearing this lens since you were 2 and 3 years old. It was recently that I realized, hey, there were certain lenses I've been wearing since I was 5 and 6 years old. And by the grace of God, he took that off. Once someone helped me to identify what it was, because part of the problem isn't that you don't want to change, it's that you can't identify it, and you're not identifying it because you're inside the fish tank. And sometimes you need someone to step on the outside of the fish tank and be like, what is that doing in here? Be like, what do you mean? What is what? That thing that's right there. Y'all don't see it. It's dirtying up all the water. Thank you so much for following, Keith. It's dirtying up all the water. You don't see that thing? And a part of that, especially for those of you guys who live in the West, because I know everyone, that's listening is not here. Y'all comment where you're watching from. The West has this a lot of emphasis on individualism, right? Pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, do your own thing. Okay, Tennessee, right? Do your own thing. Oh, my eldest stepdaughter lives in Tennessee. Do your own thing, do this, to where you're really talking about, and they really teach us that you have to do everything on your own. That's a trap. Why? Because we grow and we grow and develop, and we find safety in community and collaboration. So if you're constantly taught you have to do everything yourself, then that means you're always going to have a blind spot. Virginia, okay, VA, I have some good friends in VA. So y'all go ahead, just take a moment right now to like up the live. Just tap the screen until you can't tap, until that heart bursts, and share this live with some people as we get into this. And I'm saying that not because I just need to see likes. TikTok wants to see likes before they decide to show this live to anyone else. And so, and if we don't show it, then everyone's just going to be on here watching, puppets dance on poles and everything else, right? And about the little slippers that everyone wore in the 2000s that they're trying to bring back. I'm like, y'all, please don't bring back the beauty supply slippers. Those things hurt your feet. They didn't have any cushion or $1. So that's why I started this, and that's why I'm going to have this event, saying he has more. He has more for you, no matter what, exactly, right? No matter where you are in the process, he has more, right? He has more for you. I don't care if you filed bankruptcy yesterday. Everything changes once you decide to follow God. Everything changes once you decide, look, I want to heal this wound. Everything changes when you decide you're going to go in a different direction. And it happens so quickly. Things are happening way faster than what we think they are. I remember I told a good friend of mine, what's up, Creole? One of my Creole cousins on here. So I told a good friend of mine, another sister in Christ, I said, look, I had this vision that you were on TV talking about the city that you live in, and you were having like a political interview, right? Thank you for following Creole 12304. My family's from Louisiana too, girl. I did my ancestry. The first thing that popped up was like Creole people from here. I was like, well, Tell me something I didn't know. So anyway, and I said, man, I saw this interview and you were on there, and you were just like, y'all don't see this? Doesn't this make sense? And you were just telling on the city like they dumb. And everyone who was watching were like, yeah, that does kind of make sense. Do you know she called me last week and said, girl, why did they interview me on the news last night? I said, I told you. I said, when I see it, I see it. Now, if I don't see it, I don't see it. But when I see it, I see it. Things are happening faster than what you think they are. The problem is that you don't believe what it is that you're seeing. So you never take the steps to activate it. So I told her about that. I said, look, I saw clear as day. I was walking my dogs. And I said, Lord, why am I thinking about Tisa right now? And then next thing you know, she says it. Now, here's the thing. When I told her about it, she didn't just cast it off and be like, whatever. She was like, you know what? Those people asked to interview me. I said, let me go in the car and put my lipstick on. Some of y'all may have received the word and still not participated in it. And been like, because you didn't believe that God has more for you. You didn't believe that he's elevating your platforms. You didn't believe that he's going to, bless your business, whatever. And so sometimes when you don't believe that thing is just hovering right here, right? I think it's in Isaiah 11, where the glory of God is just hovering right above. And because you don't do it, you don't do anything about it, you never pull that thing down. And when some of y'all are like, well, how do you pull the thing down? You act on it. You act on it. But you can say, man, I need a blessing. Man, I really need my life to change. Man, I need to find a good wife. Man, I need to find a good husband. Man, I need to do this. Man, I need to do that. Right? But you won't go on a date. Your husband asked you out 50 times. You won't go out with him. Right? Rapid acceleration. Yes, I'm telling you, things are happening faster than what you think you are. But you got to get your mind right so it don't just hit you upside the head. You won't feel like it just hit you upside the head, right? And so what I'm doing right now, thank you so much. What I'm doing right now is preparing people, right? Preparing the people in my small group, preparing my clients to take hold of a thing. I told one of my clients last week on on our 90-minute sessions, right? And if you want a 90-minute session with me, the first thing is we got to do a discovery session, which is a smaller session. Come with one thing you want to work on, and then I'll make sure that this is right. Make sure that I'm the person to help you. And I said, the problem is that because this person, when we first started working together, things in business were just down. All of her rep sales were down. Everything was just kind of down. Now we're working together, and her employees' personal sales have tripled. And we've only been working together. This is her third month, right? So she just had her fifth session. And just that amount of time, her employee productivity has tripled. And I said, now the problem that we're running into right now is you're still operating and making decisions as though scarcity is still there, or scarcity, however you say it, right? Scarcity is still there. Things are actually going in the direction that you're going, but now you're running into another wall because your mind has always been prepared for hard times, but you never prepared yourself for the blessing. What happens when and if everything goes your way? To where if you're not prepared to take hold of the thing you've been praying for, the thing you've been working for, what ends up happening is it slips between your hands because you didn't have your hands ready. Any of y'all ever play baseball or softball or something like that? You got to be ready to catch the ball. You can't have your hands down here on the court and then they throw the ball and you're not ready to catch it. You got to be available. And so that's how you know someone's been in Babylon too long, to where they don't realize that things are going in their direction, but they're still operating as though they're in a dark space, in a dark place. Next thing you know, what do they say? You fumble the bag because you're still operating as though your plans, your ideas, and everything are cursed. But really, the blessing has already came down, but your mind isn't there. Things are happening way faster than what you think they are, and you have to be prepared for. And I'm going to ask all of you guys this question, and I want you to comment yes or no or whatever. If God were to answer all of your prayers right now, meaning in 1 hour, everything that you wanted comes to life, would you be prepared? If he flooded your business with 10 times the number of customers right now, would you be prepared? If he sent you the person that you've been praying for right now, would you be prepared? Or would you have to, oh Lord, I gotta go to counseling, I gotta do this. Lord, I gotta do this. Right? I gotta clean up. Would you be prepared? Or is your mind and your spirit still wounded to where you end up messing that thing up because you didn't get healed fully from the last relationship or the last divorce or whatever? Because you didn't, and the reason you didn't do it is because you didn't believe that God had more for you. So you didn't do the work as if to prepare yourself for the more. And so these are some of the things that oftentimes I end up addressing with myself, with my clients, with my group members, because you can go through a dark season and not realize that you've walked out of it, but you're still operating with rules and regulations that you had when you were just trying to survive. But Babylon is about surviving and having just enough. Once you step into the other side, right? You step into the right. All God talks about is, and sometimes people say, well, there's going to be poor people. Absolutely. But he also told us to feed the poor. You can't be poor and feed the poor. Right? You were born to be the solution to the world's problems, not to be someone that murmurs and complains about the problems of the world. That's when you know you're really getting into a mature place. Now, if you're first coming into starting off, you're like, Lord, bless me, all these things. And I pray that all of you guys are connecting with God, right? And you're first coming to that place and you're kind of complaining or whatever. Man, he's so gracious during that time period. But when you start coming to maturity and you start complaining and murmuring, he's like, I ain't got time for this. What are you complaining about? The problem that you have is with you. Right? That's when you know, when you pray, you start getting answers like that. Of maybe if you would do something different would happen. That's when you know it's like, all right, I have to start doing this thing. And so, great program. Right. So thank you so much. So that's when you know you're really moving into some other areas, is when you might want to open the door. Right? So that's how you know you're starting to move into some other areas, right? To where when now it's no longer about, hey, how do I just survive? And you're complaining, you're murmuring, you're doing all these things. Thank you so much for liking the live, Chris. Then you start moving into the area of, okay, let me uproot some things. What is it that's going on with me? What's going on with me that's making it to where I'm having difficulty taking hold of these things? Why am I having a difficulty renewing my mind? Right? Why am I doing all these prayers? I'm doing all these things. I'm doing all this wishing. I'm doing all this hard work, but nothing's coming. And once you move to that maturity to where you understand, okay, I know God has more for me. Why am I not seeing it? Then you start asking the right questions to get to some of the right answers, right? And I'm going to give you guys some of them that I've been seeing recently. Sometimes you're not getting to that place because at some point fear started gripping you. When did the fear come? And what fear will do, making you make decisions, unintelligent decisions. Fear will make you go hide your seed in the bed instead of putting it in the ground. What you gonna do with seed under your bed? This ain't Jack and the Beanstalk. What are you gonna do hiding your seed under the bed? What are you gonna do with it? But fear is like, what if they take my seed away? What if they take my money away? I'm gonna just hide it. What if the stock market crashes? Well, if it does crash, your money ain't gonna be worth nothing under your bed no way. Sometimes it's fear that gripped you. So ask yourself, when did the step in? When did, and that was something that I battled with for a long time, is fear and insecurity. And what it does is fear will keep you from taking risk, right? From taking risk. And really all a risk is doing something different. It's just walking into the unknown. We'll want something different, but we're not willing to walk into something different. So I'll say, look, I want everything about my life to be different. Okay. And God says, move. And you're like, I don't want to move. I'm scared. But you just said you wanted everything about your life to be different. Oh, no, you just want to feel better. You need a true upgrade. You just want him to paint over the junk that you have. And sometimes things can be so jacked up where you are, right? That God is like, we got to bulldoze this whole thing. Some of y'all in Sodom and Gomorrah don't even know it. God been trying to get you to move for 10 years. But your life and where you settled at is Sodom and Gomorrah. He's about to knock that whole thing down and you refuse to leave. Or he takes you out and you look back like Lot's wife, turn into a pillar of salt. Because sometimes when we're in darkness, sometimes when we get off of our path, we get so far off that we're all the way away from where provision is. And so you might keep getting doors slammed, things like that. And all those closed doors are telling you, look, you need to pick up your mat and walk away from all of this because it's all been dirtied up. And the highest standard of God is renewal, brand new. And sometimes things aren't happening because you just want things to be refreshed and he's trying to give you something new, but you won't get up. You refuse to get up. Oh, here's my water. You refuse to get up. So understanding that he has more for you, when you understand that, and then you'll start saying, what is this thing that's making me not? What is this thing in me that's making me not get up? What is it? In my mind, my will, and my emotions, aka my soul, that's keeping me in the same place. Now, Babylon wants you to blame your environment. Babylon wants to say, "Oh, it's because your boss won't promote you, or it's because of your race, or it's because people are terrible, or because of this." And it's always something, right? And let me tell you how this is a trap. Whenever you blame your environment, that gives you zero control because you don't have any control over your boss. You don't have any control over this. So Babylon wants you to think you're not in control, so you just got to settle. You just got to be angry because you can't control if those people promote you, right? You can't control if this. You can't control what color you are. You can't control this. You can't control that. Da, 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 da. You weren't able to go here. You weren't able to go there. You weren't able to do this. You know, oh, you didn't get this degree and blah, 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 whatever. And it's always what you don't have. So now you don't feel like you're in control of your outcomes. So when you feel like I have no control over this, then what you end up doing is nothing, which means you keep doing whatever it is you have been doing for so long, right? And you just go and settle there and then end up settling there until whatever that well is dries up. Meanwhile, you getting mad. And he's like trying to get you to move from that place for the past 10 years. You won't listen to me. I knew 10 years ago that place was going to dry up. I knew 10 years ago industry was going to dry up. I've been putting it in your spirit for you to have a complete change in your industry. Come up with some new products, to innovate, to bring in someone new, to do all of these different. Listen, so what do you want me to do? Because this is the thing. A lot of times the blessing has been released. You just didn't take action on it. So if God already released the blessing, there's nothing else to do. There's absolutely nothing else to do. if it's already been released. One of my favorite stories, I told this on the live yesterday, was with Elisha and the widow. The widow's like, look, my husband died. All these debtors are coming. I don't have nothing. He's like, what do you have? A little bit of oil. Okay, go get us some jars from all of your neighbors. She has the jars. Okay, close the door. Keep filling this oil up. Keep filling the jars until you don't have any more. Her son says, look, jars with money. He filled them up. Okay, now go sell the oil. We're in because we will not the oil. We won't go and do what, and I'll give you some examples of what some oil could be. Oil is your gifts. What is that thing that you know how to do really, really well? I have a relative of mine that's really great with braiding hair. Oh my gosh, she's really great. And she does all these kid styles. Open up about money, will not use her gifts. Like me, little girl hair. Well, she's at school right now. At a braid, $75 per little girl, and that place is always booked. I don't have something great because I didn't invent a rocket, and it's like you don't have to invent a rocket. Where you have that you can put in the free. You don't even need any real supplies. You just got to show, and you won't do it. Your gifts are the oil. Now, what's funny is before I got on live, I was like, Lord, what do you want me to teach today? Right? And I immediately heard Romans 12. Now, let me tell you how I taught yesterday, on the fly. And sometimes, and I know ever just come on and just start trying to talk about whatever. I'm always looking. If it ain't God, I don't want to do it. I'll skip a week. And I teach live every Wednesday at noon, right? And so in Romans 12, at one point, and this is so good. If you go to verse 6, it says, since we have gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, each of us is to exercise them accordingly. So meaning we all have different gifts and that are different based upon how we're graced, meaning based upon how God has blessed us, right? So every single one of us on here, we all have different gifts. And some of the things that about you that other people have called weird or have been different, it was on purpose because you were graced with that thing and you were meant to stand out. Each of us is to exercise them accordingly. So he didn't say, hey, have this gift and just be happy you're gifted. You need to exercise your gift accordingly, meaning however you've been gifted, you need to exercise that gift based on that thing. So if it's prophecy, according to the proportion of your faith, you need to prophesy. If service, in serving, meaning if you've been given the gift of serving, you need to go out and serve. If it's teaching, you need to go and teach. If it's giving, you need to do it with liberally, meaning you give and give and give. If it's leading, lead with all diligence, right? So basically, whatever it is that you've been doing and however you've been gifted, you need to take that thing and you need to run that thing right across the end zone, right across the touchdown line. You need to run that thing in and run it hard. Run it like Deion Sanders when he had all his toes. Okay? Run the play with whatever it is that you have, and that's when things change. And so sometimes, and this is the thing, the world will try to tell you that whatever your gift is, it's not a value. No, it's not a value to them because they're not gifted in that area. But for every gift, there's someone who needs it. Right? Like someone needed the oil that the widow needed to sell. People need oil every day. She didn't have to put a rocket ship in the air. Now, if you've been gifted with a rocket ship, you go ahead, build that thing, put it up there. But all of us aren't going to be Noah building an ark. Some of y'all make a real good burger that tastes better than whatever McDonald's has. Right? I was just listening to that this morning with my husband sent me some stuff from Reverend Ike. I said, that makes sense. There's a lot of people that have a lot of ideas, right? But you just won't take it and you won't run with it. Your ideas, your gifts, your dreams. And it's because, you don't believe that God has more for you. And so at some point you started believing man. Man says, well, you should settle for, that's a good amount of money. That job gonna pay you $75,000 a year. That's some good money, man. Sometimes you just need to be grateful. You need to be happy. But God put it in your heart 5 years ago that he has more. And you believe the man or the person, and you didn't believe God. The Bible says, if God be true, let every man be a liar. Sometimes we live by let every man be true and let God be a liar and wonder why our lives are always backwards. You have to believe it. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to come without any work. So the widow, she still had to go out, knock on some doors, stand outside in the heat, do whatever she needed to do to sell the oil. But at the end of the day, she got what she needed. Right? And you're going to have to do some work. Jesus says, look, my Father is always working. So if God is always working, what makes you think you can sit in this horizontal position, preparing for your grave? Right? You always horizontal, like you in a casket. Might as well just jump right on in, because when it's time to work, go work. Right? Do that thing. Right? Because if you sit horizontal for long enough, you're going to end up really having to work for real. You're like, why I got 12 kids? Because you're always laying down. You can't have 12 kids with 12 different people when you're always at work. You ain't got that kind of time. Right? Why does it seem like I'm always getting in trouble? Da, 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 da. One of my good friends says, shoot, you can spend no money. You go to work and come home. I always have money because all she does is go to work and come home. How much is your discovery coaching session? Click the link in my bio. I think it's $75 and you'll get at least 45 minutes. But you just have to click it and see. Go to the link in my bio and click schedule a session with me and click it and just go through it. And usually it says 30 minutes, but we normally end up doing an hour anyway, because I can't stop. When I get something, I see something, I'm like, we're gonna fix this thing right now. And then come prepared with at least one thing that you want to work on. So you have to really do that. And really, what is that I've been wanting to do? I know what's important. It's life changing. Think of sort of warfare around it. Never do. If you said, I want to wake up tomorrow and go to the casino and gamble all my money away, ain't nobody gonna stop you. That Uber gonna come on time. The bank gonna let you pull all your money out. The casino might even give you a free bedroom. Oh yeah, you can stay free. They're gonna give you free alcohol. There is absolutely nothing that day of you going in and letting go of all your money. Is some sort of curse, anything, some sort of sin, anything that's going to put you in a bad position. There's never any warfare around it. It's easy. Right? It's real easy. Let you try to go and do something good that makes sense. People are going to try to convince you crazy. What you need that kind of business for? You already got a job. You're going to spend all your money doing all this. Then you're going to have to pay taxes. Stupid. Why you need to form an LLC? You can just do it as a side hustle. You don't have to pay no taxes to Uncle Sam. Yeah, you also get no tax benefits. And you can also never work with a legit company because a legitimate company is going to not want to get in trouble for tax fraud and everything else. You get government 100,000 because you don't want to give Caesar his coin. So you trade 100,000, 200, 300. You don't want to give Uncle Sam $50. But that's what I'm saying. Anytime you're trying to do something that makes sense to up your life, the enemy is going to send someone to give you unintelligent advice. Another example of unintelligent advice is that, yeah, can y'all hear me? I just want to make sure this thing is on and working. This mic is working. Another example of advice is when you have people, okay, yeah, it's working. Is when you have people that say that have very, very little experience in that. Let's say God put it, everyone's not going to be a business entrepreneur. This is how taxes work as an entrepreneur. You make your expenses, you get taxed on what's left. What you make minus your expenses, and you get taxed on what's left. So your own salary, what it is, different things, what's left. They tax it, you live off of what's left. So giving and trying to make all this warfare and confusion around the dream that God gave you, around the He told you for you to run the play. I 1,000%. If God gave you the gift, 1,000% expects for you to run the play. Not in between, not hiding under a rock. He's like, look, you better run this ball. You better run it like Dion. You Barry Sanders, LeBron. Don't just, you better take this thing the next level. He 1,000% expects that. There's going to be some folks to come and plant weeds and see your spirit, and then a tiny loving. Always going to be people that are going to come warfare around that thing so you don't move. Because remember, if I'm your enemy, I try to get you to not show up for the first place. Because if you show up, you might mess around and win. There's a 50-50 you show up or you don't, chance that I'm going to win. This person, I'm going to run the business. Don't file your LLC. Do it on the table. Do this. You don't want to have to pay. No. God tells us, look, give Caesar his coin. Give him his coin. And you run the play and you make a big play. And you hire a good accountant to make sure, right? You hire to make sure that you run that the right way. An accountant is a good accountant is like go get this big old truck. I don't even like trucks. This $80,000, or you gonna y'all see people are like, why are they driving all these gas guzzlers? They're driving it, get paid for with the extra cash they made over, in their business, so that they didn't have to go Sam now instead of personally going out and buying a $1,000 truck. Their business bought it, and that's why at $5 a gallon, because it saved them 80 grand in taxes. You're messing around that has no business giving you advice. Now you're trying to buy an $80,000 vehicle, making $80,000 a year that's taxed at, whatever percentage. And now you got to finance an $80,000 vehicle with what it is that you have left. That don't let hard time come and grab that $80,000 vehicle, 2 weeks later. This is why you have to believe and know that God has more for you and follow the plan that he has and the provision that he has for your life. Because you can get online and someone can do this, and you can they're giving you all these different ways of doing it. But unless they are identifying the gift that you have and ensuring that this method is in alignment with the gift that you have, it's not going to work. Or get area. For instance, like videos on speaking. If God didn't give you it makes sense for you because a linebacker is not a running back. But and you put your efforts for a linebacker, and then this person is supposed to be a running back, and they both can get on the team and run the play and win a game. But if you switch those two roles, y'all gonna lose. Same two people, same game, different positions, different gifts, different anointing, different builds. So when people see it as a stay in our lane because he created the lane for us specifically. And so if you do that and you focus on running with the gift that you have, and you run with it without fear, and understand that God has more for you than boom, 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 whatever that thing is for you. He has more. Run the play. You do. And so remember that since we have gifts that differ according to the grace that's given to us. According to the grace that's given to us. Right? Grace is something that we did. We do. Like, one of my really great at all these things, right? How to do that. Really cool. Right? But she can draw you some stuff. Like, we didn't pay for any art lessons or anything like that to make her be able to do that. That was a great guy. She could just sit up and draw a character. Look at this. Like right now. Even if I were to have practice, it still wouldn't look good. That's a great grace. So I want you guys right now to write in the comments what is something that you've been graced with. One of mine is teaching, strategizing, coaching. This isn't something now I've gotten experience in. I've been doing it for about 15 years, but it's not something that I got to wake up and just do like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Right? Like, how do I do this? I don't have to go and get myself together for it. I'm already graced for it. It's not something that I just have to go and struggle with. I'm already graced for it. So I want you to type in the comments, what is something that you've been graced with? What is some grace with? Now, here's the problem. A lot of times we're looking for something that seems so big. Like I am going to be an electric car or whatever. And that's great. But people need more everyday things than they need some things. Like everybody's not going to go out and buy a Cybertruck. But everybody's going to go out and get something to eat today. Everybody is going to need to get whatever that is, right? So, what is that thing? Grace with. What it is, go to the link in my bio. There's a workbook, and a big portion of that workbook, you just download it, read through it out, is getting you to identify what some of your gifts are. If you don't know what your gifts are, part of the exercises that's in the book is for you to call someone and ask them, hey, what are some of the things that I just do naturally, naturally well, that other people just don't do? Because this is the thing. You've been so graced by your gifts that you don't recognize that it's a gift. You think that everyone can do it like that because it comes easily to you. That is the number one reason why people don't use their gifts, because God gave them that gift so graciously that you assume that other people can do that too, because it's not been something you've had to work at. Sometimes we use our skills and the things that we have to really, really work to obtain more than our gifts. And it's simply because we recognize the amount of effort and we put so much investment into gaining this skill that we assume that's what. But the gift was that thing that was given graciously to you and that you were graced by, that you all this time, that you don't recognize it. You just assume control. You assume that you assume that everyone can cook the way that you cook and everyone has the recipe. You assume that everyone can write you right. You assume that everyone's that great at storytelling. You assume that everyone cuts hair the way that you can and that everyone can braid as well as you can and as quickly as you can. You assume that everyone knows how to do makeup that well. You assume that everyone understands accounting that well. You assume that everyone knows how to style that well. You assume everyone knows how to clean that well and efficiently. You assume that everyone knows how to do this to their car, and everyone could paint, and everyone knows how to rehab their car, and everyone knows how to train their dog, and everyone knows how to sew, and that everyone knows. You assume that everyone knows how to do these things so easily because it was easy to you that this thing was a gift. And you using this gift is what's going to allow for you to obtain the thing that God has for you. And he gave it to you freely. You're supposed to use it in freedom. Does that make sense to y'all? Are y'all getting it? Or am I by myself with this? And so sometimes we will sit there and we'll think, man, why has God left me? But he put the thing inside of you 50 years ago. You just never tapped into it. Or you were waiting for someone to affirm it. You were waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. You were waiting for someone to give you permission. That's how you know you've been, is when you're constantly in a for permission. Right? This is so crazy because God also gave me Romans 12 today and what to cover. And it says, do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewal, so that you may prove what the will of God is, and that which is good and acceptable and perfect. So meaning, look, the world's going to tell you, oh, go do this. This is how everyone's making money. This is how everyone's doing this. He says, no, you got to be transformed. Renew your mind so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. So you got to renew your mind so that way you can prove what the will of God is. What is the will of God for your life? I'm telling you right now, he has more for you. He has more than whatever it is that you've been idolizing. If you've been idolizing your job, he has way more for you than what your job has. Out of a place that was supposed to be a stop, and you wonder why you're suffering because you started idolizing it. and you thought it had more for you than what God had. Now, there are some people that may be in places where, yeah, you were meant to retire from that place. You were meant to do that thing, right? But, that wasn't supposed to be a space and a place that's long suffering, right? So, what is that thing? And I want you guys type right now, just say it. Because one of the things that scares me is that I ask for everyone to comment for what that thing is that is your gift, and no one commented. And I'm not surprised by that, because this is something that I run into all the time when I'm coaching people, is that people have not identified their gifts. And part of it is we didn't all grow up in households where our parents were telling us where we're gifted. I try as much as possible what their gifts are and what God is showing me their gifts are. So that way they're aware of, like, this is a gift. Hey, steward this thing, use it, practice it, lead with it, work on it. Everyone doesn't have this thing that you have. And most of us didn't grow up in households where people were constantly affirming our gifts and letting us know where we're gifted. So you go throughout this world, you don't understand your authority. You don't understand your giftings. You don't understand your anointings. So you're going out in this world without using your tools. You're going in this world and not using that equipment that you already have for free. Right? And then let me tell you, this is something I wrote down yesterday, and it's coming back up right now, which I love. This is something that came to me last night, and I can't remember what I was thinking about or talking about or how it came up. But I think I was talking about deliverance and traps. One, if you don't remember anything else from this live, I want you to remember this. The devil will always try to sell you what's already yours. If you do this, I promise you riches and fame. God already had fame and riches for you. I'll give you influence. You're already influential. You'll be so peaceful. I'm be my peace, but you're already peace. Right? The enemy will always try to sell you what is already yours. And the way and reason that he can even attempt to sprinkle that in front of you is because you don't believe that it's already yours. You didn't believe God when God said, I have more for you. Right? You think God's mad at you. You're so caught up in shame and guilt from your mistakes that you're just like, oh, I just deserve to be sick. I deserve to be hit. What's up, Phoenix Ash? I deserve to be sick. This is why I'm broke, because of this. I made bad decisions, so I just got to live in this. I got to walk this out. Right? But that's against scripture. Right? It's actually of God, right? Oh, I can say this. And you believe that, look, I made my bed and now I gotta lay with it. You actually take away of God, which is God, the Lord, my restorer. You snatch one of his titles away. Right? Jehovah El Ashib. I don't know if I never say that one's so hard for me to say. Right? I could say Sikanu, I could say all these stuff, right? Jehovah El Ashaib. The Lord, my restorer. So whenever you take on that mindset of you're feeling guilty, you're feeling shame, you're just like, I just got to sit in this. I guess I'm just going to be broke. I made bad decisions. I didn't finish college. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. So I made bad decisions. I just got to lay. You steal it. Right? You take away the title of the Lord Restorer or the Lord the Restorer. You steal that away. And so, and when you go through that process, that is how the enemy ends up reselling you that which is already yours, because he puts you in the mindset and makes you believe that things can't change, and that he has a thing that you already have. You know, narcissists will try to do that too. Try to break you down so much to resell you what it is that you already have. Right? You'd be nothing without me. No, you were already something without them, probably in a better position. Right? And so that's just the enemy working through that person. Try to resell you what's already yours. And it's because you don't believe that he has more. God has more. I don't care if you did something horrible yesterday, this morning, last week, you know, a minute from now, you just logged on and you did something terrible. You were just sinning, right? You was in Tyrone's bed and you just woke up and jumped on my live. Doesn't matter if it happened 5 seconds ago, right? Repent, move forward, start new right now. So that's in your business. You know, I'm working with someone right now who, guess what? We're creating a new business within her business. And that's my goal for her is, hey, we don't have to restart whenever we decide to restart. Excuse me, my allergies have been a mess. We can restart whenever you decide to restart. And we're renewing her business while she's in that same business. And it's working. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I'm going to be right back. Let me go blow my nose just in case. Oh Lord.